"You're in a trap, don't move," the waitress slipped a note to the billionaire. The crystal stemware trembled as Robert's hand reached for his water glass. 42 years of building an empire, yet tonight something felt different about this quiet corner booth at Romano's. The mahogany walls that usually felt warm now seemed to press closer, and the soft piano music couldn't mask the tension crackling through the air like electricity before a storm. He'd chosen this restaurant for its discretion, a place where powerful men could conduct business without prying eyes. But as the young waitress approached his table, her steps careful and measured, Robert noticed her dark eyes weren't focused on his menu or wine selection. They kept darting toward the entrance, then back to the two men in expensive suits who'd entered shortly after him. Her face was pale, almost frightened, as she set down his appetizer with hands that shook just slightly. When she leaned forward to refill his water, she pressed something small and urgent against his palm. A folded napkin. "Where are you watching from tonight?" Robert Hamilton had built his fortune on reading people, on sensing when something wasn't quite right in a boardroom or negotiation. That same instinct now screamed warnings as he carefully unfolded the napkin beneath the table. The handwriting was hurried but clear. "You're in a trap, don't move. I'm Elena. Trust me." His pulse quickened, but years of high-stakes business had taught him to control his reactions. He glanced up at the waitress, Elena, who was now taking orders from an elderly couple 2 tables away, her professional smile masking whatever fear he'd glimpsed moments before. The 2 men who'd entered after him sat at the bar, nursing whiskeys and occasionally checking their phones. They looked like any other successful businessmen unwinding after a long day, but Elena's warning changed everything. Robert had received death threats before. It came with the territory of being worth $9 billion, but he'd never expected danger in a place like Romano's, where the owner knew him by name, and the staff treated him like family. Elena returned to his table, her voice steady as she asked about his meal. "Everything tastes all right, Mr. Hamilton?" But her eyes told a different story. She placed his entree down with deliberate care, then whispered so quietly he almost missed it. "My manager's in on it. They've been planning this for weeks. There's a car waiting in the alley." The words hit him like ice water. His security team was outside, but they wouldn't be expecting an inside job. Robert had survived hostile takeovers, boardroom coups, and family betrayals that made headlines. But this young woman, this stranger, was risking her own safety to warn him. "Why?" He studied her face as she moved efficiently around his table, refilling glasses and adjusting silverware with practiced grace. Elena couldn't be more than 35, with calloused hands that spoke of hard work and tired eyes that suggested she'd seen more than her share of trouble. Yet here she was, choosing to protect him when she could have simply looked the other way. The men at the bar stood up, one heading toward the restroom while the other approached the host station. Elena caught the movement, and her face tightened. She scribbled something quickly on her order pad and set it beside his plate before hurrying toward the kitchen. The note read, "Back exit is clear. Wait for my signal." Robert's mind raced through possibilities as he forced himself to cut another piece of salmon, maintaining the appearance of a relaxed diner. Through the kitchen's swinging doors, he could see Elena speaking urgently with someone. A cook, perhaps, or another server. The man from the bar had cornered the host near the entrance, their conversation appearing casual but their body language suggesting otherwise. Robert's security training kicked in as he catalogued exits, potential weapons, and the positions of innocent bystanders who could be hurt if this situation exploded. Elena emerged from the kitchen carrying a dessert tray, but her path took her past his table, where she paused to straighten his napkin. "They drugged your wine," she breathed, barely moving her lips. "I switched it with grape juice when you weren't looking." The revelation sent a chill through him. He'd barely touched the wine, trusting Romano's sommelier's selection as he always did. How long had they been planning this? How deep did the conspiracy go? His phone buzzed with a text from his head of security, "All quiet outside. Enjoy dinner." Robert wanted to laugh at the bitter irony. His $1 million security team was useless while a restaurant waitress had potentially saved his life. Elena set a small bowl of tiramisu in front of him, and he noticed her hands were steadier now, as if helping him had given her purpose and courage. "Why?" he asked quietly when she leaned down to remove his empty plate. For just a moment, her professional mask slipped, revealing something raw and honest. "Because everyone deserves to go home safe," she said simply. "No matter how much money they have." The words carried weight beyond their simplicity, the wisdom of someone who'd learned that kindness wasn't about what you could afford to give, but what you couldn't afford to. If this moment touched your heart, please give the video a thumbs up. The man who'd been at the bar reappeared, now standing near the kitchen entrance and checking his watch. Elena noticed too, and her jaw tightened with determination. She picked up the dessert menu and pointed to it as if recommending something, but her words were urgent. "When I drop this tray, run for the back door. Don't look back." Robert nodded almost imperceptibly, every muscle coiled and ready. 30 feet to safety, with only Elena's courage standing between him and whatever trap awaited. The tray trembled in her hands as footsteps approached from behind. The crash of shattering plates erupted through the restaurant like thunder. Elena had accidentally collided with a busboy near the kitchen, sending desserts and china flying across the tile floor. In the chaos of servers rushing to clean the mess and diners craning to see what happened, Robert slipped from his booth and moved swiftly toward the back hallway. His heart hammered against his ribs as he heard shouting behind him, the men realizing their target was escaping. The alley door burst open under his weight, and cool night air hit his face like salvation. But freedom lasted only seconds before he heard Elena scream from inside. Robert's feet stopped moving. Every survival instinct told him to keep running, to let his security team handle whatever was happening. But the sound of that scream, filled with pain and terror, rooted him to the spot. She'd saved him. This stranger had risked everything to warn someone she barely knew, and now she was paying the price for her kindness. Robert thought of his own daughter, barely older than Elena, and how he'd want someone to help her if she were in danger. The choice crystallized with startling clarity. He pulled out his phone and speed-dialed his security chief. Code red at Romano's. "Send everyone. Now." Then he did something that would have horrified his bodyguards. He went back inside. The restaurant had erupted into controlled chaos. Customers were being herded toward the front exit while staff huddled near the kitchen. Robert could see Elena on the floor beside the overturned dessert cart, one of the men standing over her while the other argued with the manager. Her uniform was torn, and there was blood on her lip, but her eyes blazed with defiant fury rather than fear. "Let her go," Robert called out, stepping into the dining room with his hands visible. "I'm here. She's not part of this." The man holding Elena looked up with surprise that quickly turned to satisfaction. "Mr. Hamilton, how thoughtful of you to return." His voice carried a slight accent, Eastern European, maybe Russian. "Your waitress here has been very unhelpful. Have you ever faced something like this? Let us know in the comments." Elena caught his eye and shook her head desperately, trying to warn him away even as blood trickled from the corner of her mouth. In that moment, Robert understood something profound about courage. It wasn't the absence of fear, but choosing to act despite it. And this young woman had more of it than most billionaires had money. The standoff lasted only moments before the front windows exploded inward. Robert's security team moved like a precision instrument, black-clad figures flowing through every entrance with tactical efficiency that spoke of military training. The man holding Elena spun toward the commotion, his grip loosening just enough for her to twist away and scramble behind the overturned table. "Federal agents!" The lead officer's voice boomed through the restaurant. "Everyone on the ground." But the kidnappers were professionals too. The one near Elena pulled a weapon while his partner dove for cover behind the bar. Robert threw himself forward, tackling Elena and shielding her with his body as gunfire erupted around them. The firefight lasted 30 seconds but felt like a lifetime. When silence finally fell, Robert raised his head to find Elena staring at him with wide, disbelieving eyes. "You came back," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion and shock. "You actually came back for me." "You saved my life first," he replied simply, helping her to her feet as paramedics rushed in. Her legs were shaky from adrenaline, and he kept a steadying hand on her arm. "Are you hurt badly?" Elena touched her split lip gingerly and shook her head. Nothing that won't heal. She looked around at the destruction. Overturned tables, shattered glass, chalk outlines where the kidnappers had fallen. I couldn't let them hurt you. My little brother was killed in a robbery 3 years ago. The customers just stood there and watched. No one tried to help. Tears welled in her eyes. I swore I'd never be one of those people who just walks away. Robert felt something crack open in his chest, a warmth he hadn't experienced in years of boardrooms and billion-dollar deals. This woman had shown him what real wealth looked like, the richness of human decency, the value of choosing courage over safety. "What's your full name?" he asked gently. "Elena Vasquez," she said, confusion flickering across her face. "Elena Vasquez," Robert repeated, testing the syllables. "I won't forget that name. Or what you did tonight." He pulled out his business card and wrote something on the back. "When you're ready, when you've healed from all this, call me. I could use someone with your kind of courage on my team." If you've been enjoying this story, subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming tales. Elena took the card with trembling fingers, reading the words he'd written. "Heroes come in all forms. Thank you for reminding me what matters." 6 months later, Robert sat in his corner office on the 42nd floor, watching the city sprawl beneath him like a living map of dreams and struggles. The view hadn't changed, but his perspective had been forever altered by one night in a restaurant and a waitress who chose kindness over safety. The kidnappers had been part of an elaborate scheme involving the restaurant manager and a disgruntled former employee who'd sold information about Robert's dining habits. They'd planned to drug him and stage a kidnapping for ransom, but they hadn't counted on Elena's sharp eyes and brave heart. A soft knock interrupted his thoughts. "Mr. Hamilton?" "Elena's here for the quarterly review," his assistant announced. Robert smiled, remembering how nervous Elena had been during her first week as his director of community outreach. She'd worried about fitting into the corporate world, about whether someone from her background could succeed in his company. But Robert had seen her true value that night in Romano's, and every day since had proven him right. Elena entered his office wearing a professional navy suit, but she still had that same determined glint in her eyes that had saved his life. In her hands was a thick folder containing reports from their newest initiative, a program providing security training and support for service industry workers. It was her brainchild, born from her own experience and her desire to help others recognize and respond to dangerous situations. "The numbers are incredible," Elena said, settling into the chair across from his desk. "We've trained over 2,000 restaurant and hotel employees across the city. 3 potential attacks have been prevented just this month because staff knew what to look for." Her voice carried pride and purpose that no salary could have inspired. Robert leaned back in his chair, studying the woman who'd changed his life by changing her own. The scared waitress was gone, replaced by a confident advocate who'd found her calling in protecting others. "And the scholarship program?" 43 recipients this year, Elena replied, her smile lighting up her entire face. "All service workers who want to pursue careers in security, social work, or criminal justice. We're changing lives, Robert. One person at a time." They talked for another hour about expansion plans and new initiatives, but when Elena finally gathered her papers to leave, Robert called her name. "Elena, do you ever regret it? Leaving Romano's, taking this leap?" She paused at the doorway, her hand resting on the frame. "Every choice has consequences," she said thoughtfully. "But some choices define who we are. That night, I decided I'd rather be someone who acts than someone who watches. Best decision I ever made." After she left, Robert returned to his window view, but now he saw more than buildings and traffic. He saw Elena's program graduates working in hotels and restaurants across the city. He saw lives being protected and people caring for one another in ways that had nothing to do with money or power. If you enjoyed this story, please remember to like, leave a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe for more heartwarming tales. Sometimes the most valuable treasures aren't found in bank accounts, but in the moment we choose to help a stranger in need. Thank you for joining us on this journey of courage, kindness, and the unexpected connections that remind us what it truly means to be wealthy.